Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here in Batavia, birthplace of Western New York. Some of you probably think you're in the Finger Lakes. We actually picked this site because half of the building is in Western New York and half of the building is in the Finger Lakes. We're very fair that way. Let me start with some acknowledgments. I'd like to welcome New York State Assemblyman Steve Hawley. Batavia City Council President Eugene Jankowski Jr. Batavia City Manager Jason Molino. Finger Lakes REDC Co-Chair Bob Duffy. Genesee County Manager Jay Giselle. Genesee County Economic Development Corporation President Steve Hyde. Batavia Development Corporation President Pierre Cipollone. Rochester Building and Construction Trades Council President Dave Young. The amazing Thurman and Patty Thomas. Well, you're half Western New York and you're half Finger Lakes. The good news is, no matter which half you prefer to be, they're both really good news stories right now. And that's the main thing. The main thing is that after, and believe me, I have lived upstate for 36 years. I watched us take a small or large step backward every year for 30 of those years until things finally turned around with Governor Andrew Cuomo. The difference is simple. He believes in you and your vision for your future. He believes in a strategic, collaborative approach to economic development, and he not only empowers you to develop your own plan, but as important, he gives up, amazingly, the responsibility to allocate the money. You know, in your regions, you're screening this myriad of projects that come your way against the lens of your own strategic plans, which has really been a remarkable transformation. It has empowered Batavia and your region and all of upstate to reimagine a different future. He also has a holistic approach to economic development. It's not any one magic bullet, silver bullet project that transforms the region. It's all of the important components working together, whether it's innovation, the types of companies we're looking to lure to Stamp that we've worked so closely with Steve on, or other tradable sectors of the economy. We were out here announcing Hood here in Batavia at the Stamp site recently, or if it's workforce development with Genesee Community College, or downtown revitalization. Stopping the continual loss of young people that we experienced for 40 years. All of these components come together to make for successful revitalization and economic development. You can't just do it with one alone. And that's really what the governor has brought to this. And you're fortunate to have a governor who has a career of experience by virtue of being head of housing and urban development. He really gets the role of downtown revitalization. And downtown revitalization is in large part what we're here to talk to you about today. You did a great job on your plan. you understand downtown revitalization. You understand all the components, the complete streets, the adaptive reuse, the historic preservation, the workforce initiative, the innovation initiatives. You know exactly where your future lies, and you know that for business to attract and retain young people, and for your community to keep young people and bring them back, you need a vibrant downtown. You'd be amazed at how many businesses I talk to across the state, and if I just say to them, you tell me, what do you think the state of New York, what do you think ESD should focus on the most? You might think they'd say something about tax or something related to their cost of business. What they want to talk about is their downtowns. They say, you know what you can do to really help us? Focus on revitalizing our downtowns so when we recruit people here and that we want to keep our young people here, we have cool places to show them. And that's what we're doing. That's what the DRI is about. That's what your great effort's about. Getting off of the sidelines and into the game of economic development and community development. That's the opportunity the governor gave you. You've never had a governor that has believed so much in you and your community and your future. I have seen it firsthand in Buffalo. I couldn't imagine, and for anyone who, and I know you're all familiar with what's happened in Buffalo, it was unimaginable 8, 9, 10 years ago, and we're living it, and you're going to be living it. You guys are headed in the right direction. Thanks to this governor and thanks to your hard work, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, and it is a good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back in Batavia, and it's a pleasure to be here with good news. First to Mr. Howard Zemsky, who, as you heard, he was in charge of the Buffalo Regional Economic Development Corporation. That's how he started. Private businessman who wanted to help turn around Buffalo because he loved it. Came up with a plan, came up with a strategy, implemented it. Buffalo is now a national turnaround story. We focused on Buffalo early on because it was the slowest economy in the state. And he did a magnificent job there. And then we seduced him to come into state government because it was so much fun and you make so much money and it's only good news and people only say good things about you. So now he's head of economic development for the whole state. Let's give him a round of applause. City Council President Jankowski, good job. Let's give him a round of applause. My colleague from Albany, Steve Hawley, good to be with you, Steve. Patty and Thurman Thomas. Thurman beat me out by that much for that football position. I still resent them for it. Let's give them a round of applause. And a really great friend who was a great public servant for Rochester, for the state, Bob Duffy. So, this is the story. In many ways, we've come full circle. Howard says we've been focusing on the economic transformation of upstate New York. We have been, from day one of the administration. It's been one of the greatest problems that this state has had for decades. For a lot of decades, we just ignored it, we denied it, or we didn't care enough about it. And we said we were actually going to come in, do something about it, and turn it around. Actually, the first turnaround and recognition was in many ways done in Batavia. Johnston Harvester moved out, and that was the big employer back in the 50s. Part of the manufacturing phase out, right? Buffalo loses steel, and Rochester loses Kodak, and Batavia loses Johnston Harvester. And in the old building, you started a business incubator. I don't know if it was called a business incubator there, but the thought was, we have to change economies. We're no longer manufacturing. We lost this big employer. We have to get to the economy of tomorrow. And it's going to start by bringing in small businesses and feeding them and growing them and helping them, incubating them into bigger businesses, literally in the same building. That was ahead of its time by 50 years, because literally that's what the state of New York just started doing 6, 7 years ago. And it was the exact point that you knew when Johnston Harvester left. That was yesterday. What's tomorrow? And where does the job and the energy come from tomorrow? In Buffalo, somebody came up to me one day and said, you know, it's been a bad 50 years when it comes to the economy. And I laughed. And he just looked at me. I thought it was a joke. He was serious. It's been a bad 50 years because we phased out of manufacturing, and the new economy we never stepped into. So Bob Duffy's mayor of Rochester. I'm running for governor. And Bob is complaining about he's not getting enough help from Albany, and how does he make this economic transition, and there's nobody there, and you can't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. I said, I'll tell you what, Bob. You want to help Rochester? You have to come to Albany. He said, why? I said, because you can't do it from Rochester. Come to Albany, we'll put together a whole plan, a whole strategy, we'll implement it, we'll focus on upstate New York like no administration has ever focused on upstate New York, and we will come up with an economic development transformation for the entire region. Enter Howard Zemsky, genius from Buffalo, sense of humor a little off, but that's okay. Very, very smart. And we develop a strategy, we experiment, we study, we research, but we come up with a strategy. We're employing it and it's working. Started by bringing down taxes in this state, because you cannot keep raising taxes and think people and businesses are going to stay here. They're just not. And if they think New York State has the highest taxes in the country, they're going to go somewhere else. We brought down state spending to the lowest level increases in the history of the state. Our budget has gone up less than 2%, and we cut taxes all across the board. Second, we invested in infrastructure. Businesses want to be able to get there, you know, and new airport in Rochester, new airport in Syracuse, new airport in Plattsburgh, new airport in Elmira, new LaGuardia Airport, new JFK Airport, because you have to have the infrastructure that businesses require. Just opened a new train station in Rochester. They'd been using a temporary train station for 36 years. I don't really know that it's still temporary after 36 years. You know, at one point, it becomes permanent. So put in new infrastructure. Also change the orientation of our universities and our schools. Where is the new economy coming from? Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is Stanford University. That's what Silicon Valley is. Smart minds come up with big ideas in Stanford, and then they get fertilized and grow into businesses in Silicon Valley. Boston did very well in the new economy. They had MIT. MIT was the same thing. Smart minds, they came up with an idea that started a business. We missed that in New York. We have the schools. Our schools are as good as Stanford and MIT, but we didn't have the culture of commercialization of the academic idea. We were just academics, you know, and we didn't capitalize and commercialize on the ideas that were coming out of the colleges. That's very much part of the new economy, and we've been doing that. Empire State Development Corporation now holds competitions where they invite the new entrepreneurs, people with new business ideas from all across the nation, to come to New York, and they give a grant to the best business idea on the condition that you stay and you grow in New York. And part of the strategy is the state can get its house in order, but then the local community has to participate, and the local community has to design their own destiny and their own business plan. And it has to happen in a regional context. Because it doesn't work, there is no one New York State economy. There's Western New York, there's Long Island, there's the North Country, and these are very discrete economic units. So the last part of the brainchild of Howard is, and then we have to develop the downtown areas and give an incentive for downtown development, smart growth, complete streets, et cetera, what he just said to you today. And he came to me with this idea, and he said, I want to call it the Cool Places Competition. I said, we can't call it the Cool Places Competition. He says, yeah, that's what we need. We need cool places in downtowns to get millennials, their different mindset. They like to walk. They want to walk to the cafe, walk to the restaurant. I said, I got it, but I can't say, hi, I'm the governor. I propose the Cool Places program. So we called it the Downtown Revitalization Program. And the idea was we'd run it as a competition. And the people who come up with the best plans to redesign their downtown would be eligible to win $10 million. And we do it by competition. And Howard, because this was all Howard's idea, Howard was very excited about it. And I said, but Howard, we have $100 million. We expect 10 winners, 10 million each. How many people do you think will apply? Between 20 and 22. When he gave that specific an answer, I thought he knew what he was talking about, right? 20 and 22. It was so finely calibrated. So I said, all right, so we'll get 20 applications, half will win, and the other half won't win, but it's a 50-50 chance. What happens is, Howard, as smart as he is, his calibration was a little off. We didn't get 22 applications. We got 104 applications, okay? Just slightly off. Little bit. It's always that little bit that gets you. So we had to go to Plan B. Plan B was, because under Plan A, 104 applications, 10 winners, that's a lot of losers. So this is Plan B. Plan B was $10 million for first place, but we would have a second place at $8 million and a third place at $6 million. Now, everybody likes to win first place. I understand it, first is first. But second place, $8 million is a lot of money. And if it wasn't for the fact that we had offered a $10 million first place, people would have been very, very happy with $8 million because it's a big win. $6 million is a big win. We have a fourth place winner, which gets a set of steak knives. That's not so great. But second place, $8 million, is great, really great. It's not like my job, running for election. Second place, you lose. Second place here is great. And if it wasn't for the expectation of first place, $10 million, everybody would have been happy. And $6 million is great. So, with that as a background, it's my pleasure to announce that your plan has been reviewed against 104 other plans, And congratulations, Batavia. You have won first place, $10 million. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Governor Cuomo. I was really glad that I didn't see any steak knives out there when we came in, so I was like, thank God. This is a very exciting day for Batavia and Western New York and the Finger Lakes. There's many people that worked on this project, and I just want to try to thank some of those that made this day possible, including the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council, the council co-chairs, Ann Kress and former Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy, the Regional ESD Director, Vinny Esposito, State Senator Michael Ransenhofer, Assemblyman Steve Hawley, the Genesee County Legislature and their staff, Batavia City Council and their staff, and our neighboring town of Batavia, and all the surrounding towns and officials that support us here in the city of Batavia on a regular basis. I'd also like to recognize our partners at the Batavia Development Corporation, the Business Improvement District, and the Genesee County Economic Development Center. The Governor's Downtown Revitalization Initiative has been helping communities revive their downtowns all across New York State. And today we couldn't be more excited to bring this program right here to Batavia. And with the support of New York State, we can preserve the strong community character of Batavia while reshaping our downtown and improving the quality of life across our city. Batavia is in many ways the center of Genesee County, but the truth is most people who work and commute to Batavia, they come from elsewhere. So this DRI award will accelerate our efforts to write our next chapter and give people a reason to stay right here in downtown after work, maybe go to dinner, to a show, ultimately maybe even live right here in downtown. So today we're all in, and we couldn't do it without the support of New York State and Governor Cuomo. So on behalf of the people of Batavia, it's my great honor to accept this award. Onward. Thank you.